Let's begin by addressing the invisible shift happening inside your body right now. When we talk about getting older, we usually focus on the external. The wrinkles, the graying hair, perhaps a little stiffness in the knees in the morning. But the most dramatic changes aren't happening on your skin. They are happening deep in your stomach. To understand why this one specific vitamin becomes so elusive after the age of 55, we have to talk about a silent biological transition known as the aging gut. For decades, your digestive system has been a perfectly calibrated machine. When you sat down to a meal, your stomach immediately began producing a potent substance called hydrochloric acid. This acid doesn't just digest food, it acts as a heavy-duty key. Imagine the vitamin we are discussing today locked inside a fortress of protein found in your food. Meat, eggs, dairy. You can swallow that fortress whole, but your body cannot use the vitamin until it breaks the lock. Hydrochloric acid is that key. It shears the vitamin away from the protein, allowing it to float freely into your bloodstream where it belongs. However, once you pass the age of 55, this machinery often begins to slow down. It is a natural part of the aging process, medically referred to as atrophic gastritis. Simply put, the cells lining your stomach begin to thin out, and the production of that critical acid drops significantly. In some cases, it drops off a cliff. You might still be eating the exact same healthy diet you ate in your 30s and 40s. You might be consuming plenty of meat or fortified foods. You are doing everything right, according to the old rules. But because your stomach no longer produces enough acid to turn that key, the vitamin remains trapped inside that protein fortress. It travels through your system and eventually leaves your body completely unused. This creates a dangerous paradox that trips up so many of my patients. You assume that because you are eating well, you are well nourished. You assume that your body is absorbing what it needs just like it always has. But the reality is that the front door to your cells has been quietly shut. Your body is screaming for a nutrient that you are actually eating but simply cannot access. This is why we see perfectly healthy, active seniors suddenly testing with dangerously low levels. It isn't a failure of diet, it is a failure of absorption. Until we address this mechanical breakdown in the stomach, no amount of eating right will solve the problem. We have to stop assuming the stomach is still doing the heavy lifting and start giving the body what it needs in a way it can actually handle. Because this absorption blockage happens so quietly, symptoms don't arrive with a warning siren. They creep up on you like a slow tide, rising so gradually that you don't even notice you're drowning until you are gasping for air. And this is precisely where the trap snaps shut. You start experiencing a subtle loss of mental clarity. You walk into a room and completely forget why you are there. You struggle to find the right words during a conversation, trailing off mid-sentence. Maybe you feel a strange, persistent numbness or tingling in your fingertips, or you find yourself tripping over your own feet more often than you'd like to admit. You might just feel a deep, relentless fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to cure. Now, here is the real tragedy, and I see this heartbreaking scenario play out time and time again. When we reach a certain age, we are conditioned to accept these declines. We go to our doctors and report these symptoms, and far too often, the response is a sympathetic nod followed by, "Well, you're over 55 now. This is just part of the journey." We are handed diagnoses that sound like life sentences: senile dementia, chronic fatigue syndrome, peripheral neuropathy, or just general old age. We are told to slow down, accept our limitations, and perhaps prescribed a pill for the depression or anxiety that naturally follows from feeling like your mind is slipping away. But I need you to understand something critical today. These are not inevitable declines. This is the invisible mimicry that is robbing millions of their golden years. This vitamin and deficiency is the ultimate master of disguise. It looks exactly, to the naked eye, like the most feared degenerative conditions of our later years. When your brain is starved of this specific nutrient, your thinking physically slows down, your personality changes because your brain chemistry is compromised. Your nerves begin to fray and misfire, causing those balance issues and tremors. Family members watch their loved ones fade away, terrified it is Alzheimer's setting in, when in reality, the person is simply starving for a nutrient their body can no longer unlock. We are misdiagnosing a nutritional emergency as a chronological destiny. It is a profound mistake to assume that these symptoms are irreversible. They are often functional problems caused by a correctable lack of fuel. We have to stop looking at these symptoms as a signal to give up and start recognizing them as the body's distinct cry for help. This leads us to the critical reason why we cannot afford to be passive about this deficiency. Unlike many other vitamins where a deficiency might leave you feeling a bit under the weather or susceptible to a cold, a lack of this specific nutrient strikes at the very core of your survival system, your nervous system. We need to be crystal clear about the stakes here because we are not just talking about feeling tired. We are talking about the permanent integrity of your body's electrical wiring. Think of your nerves as the intricate electrical wiring in the walls of your home. Just like copper wires are coated in rubber insulation to protect the signal and prevent a short circuit, your nerves are coated in a fatty protective sheath called myelin. This vitamin is the essential raw material required to manufacture and maintain that myelin sheath. Without it, the insulation begins to fray, crack, and eventually disintegrate. When the rubber wears off a wire, the electricity arcs, sparks, and fails. In your body, this manifests as the pins and needles as sensations, the shocking jabs of pain, or the burning feelings in your hands and feet that so many seniors just learn to live with. But the danger goes far beyond tingling toes. This deterioration is happening along the spinal cord and within the brain itself. This is why the neurological symptoms are so terrifying. They mimic the progressive decline we associate with diseases like multiple sclerosis or advanced dementia. The scariest part of this dynamic is the window of reversibility. If you catch a broken bone, it heals. If you treat a skin infection, it clears up, but nerve tissue is finicky. If the myelin sheath is damaged due to a lack of this vitamin, and the deficiency is not corrected in time, that damage can become permanent. The nerve cell itself dies, and once it is gone, it does not grow back. This is the terrifying reality of the ticking clock I want you to understand. You can recover your energy, your skin can glow again, and your mood can lift, but if you allow that nerve damage to progress unchecked, you may permanently lose your ability to walk steadily, to hold a cup of coffee without shaking, or to think clearly. We are fighting to preserve your independence and your very connection to the physical world, which is why ignoring this deficiency is a gamble you simply cannot afford to take. This brings us to the fourth, and perhaps most frustrating, aspect of this entire crisis, the dietary deception. It is natural for you to assume that if you are running low on a specific nutrient, the solution is simply to eat more foods that contain it. We are raised on the belief that food is medicine, that a balanced diet is the ultimate shield against illness. For most vitamins, this holds true, but for this asterisk specific vitamin after the age of 55, that logic is dangerously flawed. We are dealing with an absorption paradox that tricks you into thinking you are safe when you are actually starving. I see this constantly in my practice. Patients come in confused, sometimes even defensive, holding a mental list of what they ate the previous week. They tell me, "Doc, I eat steak every Tuesday, I have eggs for breakfast, I drink milk, How can I possibly be deficient? They are doing everything the standard health advice tells them to do. They are loading their forks with the exact nutrient they need, yet their bodies remain in a deficit. This is the deception. Having the nutrient in your stomach is not the same as having it in your blood. Remember the aging gut issue we discussed. It acts like a closed door. You can pile mountains of this vitamin and rich food against that door, but none of it is getting through to your cells. It is like being stranded on a life raft in the middle of the ocean, yet dying of thirst. You are surrounded by water, but because it is salt water, drinking it will kill you rather than save you. In the same way, eating this vitamin when you cannot absorb it is effectively useless. It sits in your gut unclaimed and eventually passes out of your body, offering you absolutely no protection for your nerves or your brain. This is why relying on food alone is a trap that keeps too many seniors suffering. It gives you a false sense of security. You think, I ate well today, so I'm fine, while the deficiency continues to erode your nervous system in the background. We have to shatter the illusion that diet is enough. Your digestive physiology has changed, and so must your strategy for replenishment. To win this battle, you have to stop trying to force a broken machine to work and start using a delivery method that bypasses the problem entirely. So if the stomach is the closed door and eating more food is just piling up packages on the front porch that never get opened, how do we actually get this vital nutrient inside the house where it belongs? We need a backdoor entrance. We need a delivery method that completely bypasses the defective machinery of your digestive tract. This is the game changer that so many people miss, and it is the single most important shift you can make in your health regimen after 55. Many of my patients, realizing their diet isn't working, run to the pharmacy and buy a standard multivitamin or a cheap B12 tablet. They swallow it every morning with their orange juice, thinking they've solved the problem, but remember the absorption issue. That swallowed pill faces the exact same obstacle as the steak you ate for dinner. It has to survive the stomach acid, bind with intrinsic factor, and navigate a digestive system that has largely gone on strike. In many cases, you are just creating very expensive urine, flushing the vitamin, and right down the drain without absorbing any of it. This is why we must change the route of administration. Instead of relying on the stomach, we need to utilize the mucous membranes directly. The most effective solution, and the one I recommend to virtually everyone in this age bracket, is the sublingual method. This simply means placing a tablet or liquid drops under your tongue. The tissue under your tongue is incredibly rich in blood vessels. It is like a sponge waiting to soak things up. When the vitamin sits there and dissolves, it leaps directly into your bloodstream through those capillaries, bypassing the stomach entirely. Think of it as a biological detour. You have effectively gone around the roadblock. You don't need stomach acid. You don't need intrinsic factor. You are delivering the payload straight to the destination. For those with severe deficiencies or significant nerve damage, we can even go a step further with weekly injections, which deliver the nutrient directly into the muscle for immediate uptake. But for most of you, a high-quality sublingual lozenge or a nasal spray is all it takes to restore what time has taken away. This levels the playing field. It doesn't matter if your gut is 50 years old or 80 years old. If you bypass the gut, you guarantee the delivery. We are not fixing your stomach. We are outsmarting it to give your body the fuel it is starving for. We've talked about the silent decline, the misdiagnosis, the mechanics of the gut, and the solution. Now let's talk about the payoff. When you begin delivering this nutrient directly, bypassing the broken machinery of the stomach, you aren't just taking a supplement. You are effectively turning the clock back on a very specific type of biological aging. The transformation I witness in patients who commit to this simple protocol is nothing short of remarkable. It is like watching a dusty, antique machine suddenly get oiled and plugged back in. The gears begin to turn smoothly again, and the whole system hums with life. First and foremost, the heavy, suffocating blanket of fatigue begins to lift. We aren't talking about the jittery, nervous energy you get from caffeine, which borrows energy from tomorrow just to get you through today. This is different. This is deep cellular energy. It is the feeling of waking up in the morning and actually wanting to get out of bed, feeling that your muscles are ready to support you rather than betray you. That heavy feeling in your legs that you assumed was just part of getting older. It evaporates because your mitochondria, the power plants in your cells, are finally getting the fuel they need to burn clean and hot. But the changes go far beyond just physical energy. The most profound shift often happens in the mind. I have watched patients who were terrified they were developing dementia regain their spark. The brain fog that felt like a permanent cloud over their thoughts clears up. Suddenly, they are reading books again, they are engaged in conversations, they are sharp and quick-witted. The confusion and the memory lapses retreat, revealing the person they were 10 years ago. It is a joy to behold because it proves that their minds weren't fading, their brains were simply starving. And then there is the physical stability. As the nerves begin to repair and the myelin sheath is restored, the fumbles stop. You walk with confidence again. The fear of falling, which limits so many seniors and keeps them trapped in their homes, diminishes. You regain your independence. This is the true fountain of vitality I want you to take away today. It isn't a mythical spring in a far-off land. It is the simple, scientific act of giving your body exactly what it is begging for. By correcting this one deficiency, you are doing more than just improving a blood test score. You are reclaiming your agency, your clarity, and your ability to enjoy the years ahead with vigor and dignity.